Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Unheard podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hi there. I have been trying to record a sound for you for the last few minutes. It's beyond a few minutes at this point, and it's proving to be particularly elusive. And it's the sound of a faulty alarm box in my office. And weirdly, I'm going to tie that into the theme of today's episode, which was planned before I was told by somebody that I know that, Shane, I like your podcast, but that little alarm sound is doing my head in. And I was thinking to myself, what alarm sound are they talking about? And so when I went into the office this morning to record this podcast, I just sat for a couple of minutes to say, well, is there a sound? And of course, inevitably, the sound came, and it came from an unexpected source. It didn't come from the active fire alarm panel that's in my office. It came from an old security alarm that is out of service, but it still has electricity going into it, and apparently every 90 to 120 seconds it does this little beep. And I've gotten so used to it that I just didn't hear it anymore. It has become background noise until it's been pointed out to me. And that essentially, you could say, is also the sound of a blind spot. Something that is there, but for whatever reason, you just can't hear it or you can't see it. In my case, I couldn't hear it. But now that I hear it, I can't unhear it. So Anya, thank you for pointing that out. And I'm kind of dreading going back to listen to any past episodes of this podcast, because I'm sure all I'm going to hear now is the bleeps. And today's episode is about the power of insight. Now, I was tempted to call it the power of blind spots, but I'm going to link it around in a way that hopefully makes sense. Because the reality, the amazing reality is that we all have an incredible ability to gain insights that help us navigate our lives and our organizations and our worlds. And in many cases, they can be transformative. Sometimes they're just very subtle, simple. And the alarm here, I guess, is... it might be a poor example, but bear with me as we go through this. I'm in the middle of, finishing off my new book, which is called The Inner CEO. And I was going through some chapters there. We're kind of doing the typesetting and the book cover design, and more information to come on it soon. But in one of the chapters, I was just sharing a story that I haven't spoken about too often, where I had an experience kind of in my late 20s where I entered into what, and I'm not saying this egotistically, I was told this is what happened to me, is that I entered what's called Satori, which is the Zen word for enlightenment. So I entered into this phase of a few days. I was at a specific seminar, entered a phase of a few days where I just had this unbelievable clarity. I've never had anything like it since. And for a while that used to disturb me because I felt I couldn't get back to this thing, but it just gave me this incredible insight where I realized what was available to me and what was available to everybody that I knew, this potential. Because in that clarity, I just got incredible insights about my own life, about the people that were around me. I was getting information about myself and also about others in a way that most people just wouldn't believe. But one thing I saw very clearly in that time was that I saw that my mind was really a data server. It was something that held a huge amount of data, but I was relying on that data to try and help create my future. But all data is based on the past. And so because of that, that was an amazing insight. But what does that mean? Insight, I suppose, on a very simple level, means something that you see inside in yourself. You realize something about yourself, or you see the way that you're operating. And I saw very clearly that I was living my life from this database that was based on the past. And because of that, it was completely limiting my future. Now, that was very clear to me. And I've realized over the years that we are hardwired as human beings with this incredible gift, which is to get insights from our own intelligence as we're going along. But we have to make sure that we don't clog up the pipes that deliver that insight. I have a kind of a one-to-one service that I call the Clarity Experience with. It lasts about a month. There's different meetings that I have if somebody goes through that. About 3 or 4 kind of like long-form meetings. And on one of the conversations with the client, I was talking about, the power and that link between thinking and feeling, as in whatever you're feeling is because of your thinking, and just that we have a choice in whether we believe our thinking or whether we keep playing a thought. So, for example, if somebody annoyed you, and you might feel annoyance or frustration at that, you have a choice to let that go. Anyway, he didn't, and he told me he didn't quite, he got it intellectually. We said, look, that's fine, let's just move on. But the next time we met, which is about 2 weeks later, he made a point of saying, look, I want to share something with you. For me, that was quite profound. I saw something about myself. I was on my way to a meeting in the morning, and I got a phone call that really kind of annoyed me. It was to do with a specific project that had a setback. I was annoyed because I felt some of our team had dropped the ball. And I finished the phone call, and there was about a half an hour gap between that and my next meeting. And he said halfway through, about 50 minutes later, I caught myself winding myself up, putting myself into bad form because of what I was playing in my mind, what I was saying to myself. And I realized that I had a choice, that I could just drop it. It didn't mean I ignored the corrective action that was needed. I just stopped winding myself up. He said, that's unbelievable for me. I'd like to catch that. Now, for me, I was so excited because that is an insight. He saw something about himself. Now, he might have read something in a book 100 times, but it means nothing until you actually see it in yourself, no more than you see or hear the sound of the alarm. Now that I weirdly hear that alarm sound, I have to now deal with that, and I can deal with that. I had no awareness whatsoever that sound was there, which is quite amazing. Another angle on this is that a huge amount of research was done, I think it was primarily back in the 90s, by a guy called Dr. Herbert Benson. He was associate professor of medicine in Harvard. A very respected guy, brought out many different books. One of them was a best-selling book called The Relaxation Response. But he did a huge amount of research on what he calls breakouts. And breakouts are kind of essentially the same thing as an insight or eureka moment or an aha moment. And he was studying what is this function or ability that human seems to have. And he came to the conclusion that we all have it. Now, he came at it from a kind of a more scientific point of view, which is also very worthy to back it up. But there was a key phrase in the research that said the key thing here for somebody to have a breakout, i.e. an insight, was to break the previous underlying patterns of thought. So essentially, you're looking to distract your mind. If it was thinking about a problem, something that's challenging in front of you, or you're trying to get somewhere, even a goal, that if you were able to break the pattern of thinking, allow your mind to free up, it would allow the pipes that deliver insights to do its job. It's the overthinking that actually clogs up the pipes that will deliver the insights that are built into you. There's no specific process or techniques. For example, for some people, they might go out for a run and they get a breakthrough idea. Others, it might be a shower. Others, it might be having a drink with a friend. Somebody else, it could be playing soccer. Somebody else could be reading. It's whatever it takes. So everybody has a version of it, but they mightn't realize the underlying mechanics that are built in. They might just associate it with the activity, which is generally the mistake. So you can't leverage it as much. So breaking the underlying patterns of thought. So the reality is that you have the same ability listening to this. It's already there for you. You don't necessarily need a technique to access it. So maybe you could consider where you're blocking yourself with your thinking. By the way, I should say to you that as a funny aside, in my office, there's a couple of rooms. And so I once I heard the alarm, I think, oh, well, I can't record this podcast there. So I went into the room next door. I closed the door. I put boxes up against it to see could we muffle the sound. There's a little couch in there. So I said, right, let's record it here. And of course now, even though it's not as loud, I can hear it all the time. It's a bit like hearing a drop from a tap. You know, you're asleep in bed and it's just drip, drip. So now it's now I can hear it everywhere. So I just decided, oh God, this isn't going to work. I can't record a podcast in there anymore until I sort that out. So now I'm in the car. So I'm in the car in a car park on my phone. So hopefully the sound is going to work. So back to the questions, as I was saying, where are you blocking yourself with your thinking? Maybe where can you back off if you're feeling pressure on something or trying to really resolve a problem? Take a break. Back off. Do some exercise. Go for a hike. Go for a walk. Find a way to distract yourself. The reality is that just like that alarm, we all have different blind spots. So where can somebody tell you something that they see or that they hear, as in the case of the alarm? I'm just amazed that nobody said it to me before now. This is the 115th episode. Nobody said it to me once. So what else am I not being told? Oh my God. So bottom line, from my point of view, we're definitely 100% hardwired to receive insights. It's an amazing thing to know as a human being. Probably two key elements to it, to unlocking those insights. One is to be open to the fact that it's there. There's an awareness, understanding, and appreciation that that ability is there in you right now. And the second thing is a calm mind, a mind that isn't caught up with overthinking or thought. That's the trigger that allows it to happen. And back to my friend here with this lovely sound. The problem with this one now is that now that I can hear it, now that I'm aware of it, I can't unhear it. It's quite loud, isn't it?